Welcome into the second hour of American Agenda. I'm Dave Briggs. We're tackling the day's stories in a new and interesting way here on Newsmax. We're joined by a team of co-hosts, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Vinoo Varghese, radio host Simon Conway, and UBS Financial Services financial advisor Tracy Byrnes. Those two will be with us shortly. But we start with what to expect at the RNC next week. Nice to see you, Vinoo. We saw the Dems try to use comedy to lighten the mood of the otherwise dark virtual convention. It did not go well. Watch.
To see her debate our current vice president, Mika Pines. Or is it Paints?
It's pronounced Ponce, I believe.
Oh, some kind of weird foreign name?
Yeah, not very American sounding.
Yeah, that's what people are saying.
Oof. I mean, she is a funny woman, Vinoo. The former Veep star is actually hysterical. That did not go over well, did it?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think that there was too much doom and gloom, and what I was hoping for from them, right, is to hear positivity. And now Biden, Vice President Biden, did actually end his speech on that light, saying he was going to be a fixture of light in this otherwise darkness. But the rest of it was just negativity and negativity and negativity. The world is negative right now. It's extremely negative. You've got to be positive. And I think that's the issue that they face here, right? Are they putting forth an agenda that is, this is why we should be your president and vice president versus, Trump is bad. I mean, it didn't work in 2016. And if they don't put forth the positivity, it's not going to work in 2020. Particularly, I was concerned with Biden's speech last night when he referenced George Floyd and he talked about the murder of George Floyd. Well, what's happening, and this is the thing, I wrote an op-ed a couple months ago that was published in the New York Law Journal that said that basically the initial camera doesn't show the full deal. And as they're showing these body cam videos, it's getting further and further away from the possibility that it was a murder and that guy might have OD'd. So I think this is a dangerous thing for the Democrats to hang their hat on, particularly with centrist moderates like myself, who looking to hear a very positive message from the Democrats.
All right, so the gang's all here. You can see the four squares are now full. Tracy Byrnes is with us, Simon Conway with us as well. Tracy, nice to see you. Been quite a long time. I want to get your reaction to this hope and light from Joe Biden last night. Listen.
I'll be an ally of the light, not the darkness. United, we can and will overcome this season of darkness in America. We'll choose hope over fear, facts over fiction, fairness over privilege.
So I was astonished, guys, at some of my former colleagues who were just falling over themselves, complimenting Joe Biden for sticking to the script, for not botching the speech, for actually reading from a teleprompter. A terrific speech. I was solid. It was positive. But has the bar been set too low, Tracy?
Yeah. If all we've got to do is read a teleprompter, we're in big trouble. And quite frankly, you and I have been reading teleprompters for years. I didn't think he did such a great job at it. I think the American people want to hear positivity. I think the American people are sick of the gunslinging. I think we're sick of people pointing fingers. We just want to move forward. We want to put food on the table. We want health care for our kids. Let's just get that out there. Let's just do that. Let's stop with the pomp and circumstance, quite frankly. I hope the president comes out. I hope he says that America is as great as it really is, and he encourages people to get back out there. The doom and gloom is not going to help this economy.
Positivity is wonderful. Policy would help for the American people. And Simon, did you hear policy that the Biden-Harris camp will lead with, and what 4 years under them will look like?
The most interesting thing for me is he didn't utter the word Trump when all week it's been Joe Biden, vote for him. He's not Donald Trump. And it was fascinating to me. He didn't read the teleprompter very well, I didn't think. The words were nice. You've got to say the words were nice, but he didn't read it very well. I didn't think it came from his heart. And if you really are honest about it, you know he can't deliver what he's promising to deliver. Right now, going viral on the internet, I've seen it on Twitter, is a couple of grown women stealing a 7-year-old's hat and making him cry. That's the it was a MAGA hat. That's the new America if we're not careful, and we need to be careful.
All right, Vinoo, I'm curious about the overall direction of the Democratic Party, because we heard earlier in this week John Kasich, the former governor of Ohio, say he's not at all worried that Democrats or Biden will go far to the left. And then Bernie Sanders says the policies that he laid out years ago, which were radical, are now mainstream, and he thinks Joe Biden will be the most liberal president since FDR. So which Democratic Party will it be?
Well, let's hope that it's not the extreme left of Sanders, though. When AOC came out and nominated Sanders the other night, I wanted to throw my hands up in the air and say, what is that all about? And of course, people were defending it, saying it was some procedural thing that they had to do. Well, if that's true, then why did AOC need to be the one to do that, right? So the most polarizing figure, or for some people, the most dynamic figure on the left, endorsing Sanders at the convention, to me, that, in my view, made the whole thing a joke. So, which way are they going to go? I think the fear, and this is where Trump can really capitalize and say that they've gone too far to the left. All these, riots and everything, and the fear that's being put in by Democratic governors, Democratic cities. And if they play that over and over again, you're going to have the middle going, yeah, I don't want to deal with this.
Tracy, he's talking about the law and order aspect, which the president certainly likes to remind folks about. Do you think that should be the central focus for President Trump next week?
Look, I think the president needs to encourage people and remind people that this economy was in amazing shape before COVID hit us. And everyone was starting to feel the benefits of it all. COVID came out of left field. No one could predict it. And to point fingers at people to say they did it wrong, it's just inaccurate, because
there was nothing to fall back on this. The economy was in really good shape prior. We can get back there again. I think that's the message that the president needs to relay.
Simon, can the president get the American voters to believe that the economy can be the way it was prior to COVID? How does he do it? Does he need to stay focused on an economic message?
It's always about the economy at the end of the day. Yeah. And if it comes down to who do you really trust to put the economy back to where it was, it has to be Donald Trump. I mean, he turned it around so dramatically after the last administration. You have to believe that he is the one to bring us back to where we are, and to use the now overused phrase, to make America great again.
And how does he do it, Vinoo? How does he convince the voters? On what policy? How can he get this economy back where it is? How can he push, the COVID aside and get us back on track?
I think we need to talk about the payroll tax.
I have to disagree with both of these. I have to disagree with both of them to an extent in terms of what he did versus what Obama did. Yeah. But I can tell you, though, that I think if he says and he pushes, I think right now he doesn't have the leverage because of COVID and the reaction and the amount of things that are there. But if he can push back, hey, get the jobs back, get people working, and understand that COVID, and get people to understand that COVID's not going away, right? A vaccine is, who knows when there's going to vaccine. Yeah. Focus on jobs, getting people food on their table. If he does that rather than play the blame game that the Democrats are doing, then I think he's going to win.
Part of what President Trump needs is energy. He feeds off of it at those big rallies. He doesn't have it with this virtual convention. He will be at the White House. Tracy, how do they create that? Is there anything you see from a production, from a presentation standpoint, they can learn to do or not to do from this week at the DNC?
Yeah, so I think there actually might be some people there, I thought I'd read. And I do hope that they figure out a way to socially distance some people, because you're right, he feeds off the crowd. Look, the DNC, I mean, I watched it. The upshot to it to me was that every speech was 2.5 minutes as opposed to really long like they've been in the past. It rallies the base to an extent, but I think that the president needs to get his people out there to
relay the message of the economy before and what the economy will be after, because that at the end of the day is what matters. You're right. The COVID's not going away. A vaccine could be a year away for all we know. I hope to God not. But if it is, how do we get from A to B and get people back to work And that's what he needs to talk about.
Could be more than a year away. Who knows? Simon, again, from a production, from a presentation standpoint, what should the Republicans do?
I just think they need some high energy. It was very low energy at the DNC. They've had a week to look at that. They've got people, I'm sure, who are experts in this kind of thing. They need to up the energy level if they're going to get people engaged. It's exciting the base is one thing, but the base doesn't decide who's going to be in the White House in January 2021. So you have to reach beyond the base to get the middle, which is the people who always make the decision. And you're not going to do that with this really downbeat thing that the DNC just did. And I really hope they're more positive and they've got more energy.
To Simon's point, Vinoo, we haven't heard the president reach out much to the center lately. It has been a lot about the base. Do you expect him to do so, and with what message?
Well, I hope he does. And one of the things that I know for a lot of conservatives who don't like him, what he did before the previous, when he ran, was give that list of judges that he said that he would appoint to the bench, and he's delivered on that. So he's one of the few politicians, and I didn't vote for him. He's one of the few politicians that has actually said did what he said he was going to do. And so if he reminds people, particularly in the middle, people that are pro-life, people that like conservative and fair-minded judges on the bench, or a libertarian myself, if he reminds people of that, I think he will get the people that are like, okay, you know what, we're not happy with his rhetoric, but you know, we will rather have that and hopefully get another Supreme Court judge once, you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg or whoever goes off into the sunset.
Yeah, he got two, could get another. But, you know, I don't know that it's the middle that really is going to vote on the Supreme Court. Might be more the far right. He talked today about getting 3, 4, maybe even 5. He did return to the Supreme Court message this afternoon. We'll talk more about this later on. These guys are sticking around. Much more American Agenda after this. Welcome back to American Agenda. Time now for the Poll Vault, where we bring you the latest updates from surveys across the country. Back with our panel now. Before we get to some polls, I do want to ask you about a headline in the Washington Post. Don't be surprised if Biden doesn't get a post-convention bounce. That's not the point. How convenient that the Post is making the excuse before those polls come out. Because, guys, we always see a post-convention bounce, at least of a few points. Why is the Washington Post making the point for them, Tracy?
Well, in preparation, because the market is nervous about what they're going to do, especially if Congress goes all blue. You're looking at higher tax rates, change in estate tax policy. You're looking at your retirement accounts getting bumped around a little bit. And so I think there is an anticipation that the market will sell off. I think they're pricing in potentially a Biden win on some aspects, but Congress can throw the markets into turmoil. So people should be aware of that.
Ratings were down 20% for the Biden speech compared to Hillary Clinton 4 years ago. Is that why we won't see a post-convention poll bump for the Democrats, Simon?
Well, it wasn't just the 20% for the acceptance speech. They were down massively, almost by half. On other nights of the convention. I just think it was so negative, and they know it was so negative. And I don't see how you could possibly get a poll bump from that. So, yeah, they're preparing their people with the excuses to begin with. Hopefully, we will not see that negativity next week.
Yes, the media building in excuses, probably because there was nothing new laid out over the week of the DNC. Vinoo, let's get to you on the latest approval rating for the president, which shows him at 51%. How much momentum is he riding into the RNC?
Well, I think if his poll numbers are that high, that obviously forebodes well for him. I just want to get back to something about the ratings and Biden's speech and sort of the way that I look at it. And Biden, to me, the Biden that I remember was the one that debated in 2012 against Paul Ryan and smacked him around and was basically like, you don't deserve to be on the same stage with me, little man. That's the kind of Biden that I was liked and hoped for, right? Even 2016, when he gave a speech at the convention for Hillary, he had the oomph. Last night, it was hard. And while generally the praise has been that he gave a good speech and all that stuff, I didn't see that same fire. And I think that's going to be a problem, because ultimately when the two of them, if they ever go head to head, he's got to be able to handle those hits. And I think he can, but I didn't think that last night gave the best impression for me as a looking at him and wondering where he's at.
One more poll shows a comfortable Biden lead in New Hampshire. But if there's no post-convention bounce for the Democrats, then I think the most important poll is the CNN poll that came out to start this week, which showed among the 15 battleground states, a 1-point lead for Joe Biden. Tracy, where is this race?
It's nowhere. We know by experience that so many Trump followers are underground. They don't like him as a person. They don't want to admit that they're going to vote for him at the end of the day. And look, you have kids. You know what it's like. You take a poll. What do you want for dinner? I make burgers. Everyone says, who said burgers? Yeah. That's the worst idea I ever heard. So I think we have to be really careful with these polls. I think we've seen from the past.
And we got to leave it there, up against a hard break. Thanks, guys. More American Agenda after this.